Looking for the ultimate adrenaline rush? Bring your friends and drive a tank with our 4-star general package, including 2 passengers. Start with a safety and history briefing, then roll out in a massive 5-ton military truck to the battlefield. Then climb into the 432 armored personnel carrier hatches, closed as you drive by periscope across our course. Finish strong at our indoor range, firing a Sten M4 in a 1919 belt-fed machine gun. DriveAtank.com. Book today.
Join me, John Randall, at the North American Banking Company Minnesota Golf Show, February 13th through the 15th. It's your chance to try out the newest clubs and equipment from the biggest names in golf. Improve your game with free lessons and clinics from PGA pros. And when you're done, relax at the 19th Hole Lounge with your favorite post-round beverage.
Tickets on sale now at mngolfshow.com. Save $3 with advanced purchase. Each ticket includes 14 free greens fee passes at area courses. Learn more at mngolfshow.com. The 2026 Minnesota Golf Show is swinging into the Minneapolis Convention Center February 13th through 15th, and we want your business on the green. With thousands of passionate golfers roaming the floor, this is your chance to get your brand in front of this quality demographic with a vendor booth or larger sponsorship. And this year's ambassador, NFL Hall of Famer and Viking legend John Randall. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Want in? Don't wait for your invitation to land in the fairway. Call Bernie Lauer at 651-632-6646 or email blaur@hpi.com before the best spots are gone.
Rolling, and...
This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers. With me, as always, his name is Mike Fratelloni. Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Reavers?
I'm okay. I'm a little wore out. I got to be perfectly honest. And I really didn't want to talk about ICE and everything that's happening, but we can't avoid it.
No,
it's the biggest. It's not just the biggest story going in Minnesota. It might be one of the biggest stories going on in the country. And sadly, we had yet another incident last night in which a federal agent was ambushed by protesters. He was attacked with a shovel, and then he shot a man in the leg. And everyone's expected to survive. But here's the problem that I'm having. And I'm not blaming anyone in particular, but one thing I do want to call out is Governor Walz. Because for a guy who has based his entire administration on blaming Trump for everything, including, by the way, with his most notable remarks when he was running with Kamala Harris to become the vice president of the United States, basically ad nauseum talking about January 6th and how Trump was inciting violence and things like that. Insurrection. And I want to say to Walz, what would you call what you did last night in front of a camera at a podium, basically calling on all Minnesotans to, resist, to record everything, your job as a leader in that situation is to calm everybody down, not fan the flames of one side for political gain. And that's exactly what he did last night.
Yeah, it's too bad. I don't know what the answer is, Rivers.
None of us do.
No, but you wish that he'd say, be careful. This is dangerous. We potentially can't stop ICE from doing what they're doing here. Stand on the side of the road. Make a sign. Use your whistle if you want. Don't engage them. Don't jump in front of them. Don't drive your cars in front of them. There are things I think you can do to protest this, because I think people have a valid reason to protest.
For sure.
Right?
Yep.
And just be careful.
Well, and the problem that I'm having is whether it was the sad case involving Renee Good, where she tragically lost her life, but what makes it okay in someone's mind? It's one thing to protest. It's one thing to make a sign. It's one thing to verbally say something to someone or something that you object to. That's one thing.
Sure.
It's an entirely different thing to either try to intervene, to try to prevent someone from doing their job. It's also an entirely another level to ambush an officer, to hit somebody with your car, we've seen countless videos all over the place. Where what makes you think that that's okay? And that's the problem that I'm having. I have no problem with people, even though I don't agree with them. I have no problem with people trying to and attempting to voice their own opinion. But what I don't have a problem with is you becoming such an entitled POS that you think it's okay for you to do bodily harm to someone trying to do their job. Now, whether you agree with them doing their job, that's a completely different subject matter. But that's the problem that I'm having.
Okay, help me get into the head of someone who's doing this. Do you think they feel that ICE is the Gestapo?
Yes.
And if I were back in 1938 Germany and the Gestapo was rounding up Jews, I hope that I would have the courage to say, no, you're not. You're not doing that. I hope that I would stand in front of their cars.
But here's the key difference, and why I have such a problem with that term being thrown. I'm not blaming you.
I'm not saying ICE is the Gestapo. I'm saying, do you think people think
those
that?
are the people that think that? And because you're hearing that rhetoric from elected leaders that are supposed to be, again, calming things down, not winding everybody up. And when you hear that term, it's so insulting to someone that actually had to live through that back in the 30s. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
It's so insulting to have someone that's maybe an ancestor of someone that was in a concentration camp, because that's not even remotely close as to what's going on. And to the point, Mike, where I wish it was possible for, whether it's ICE, and we're going to hear from Kristi Noem in a second, whether it's ICE, whether it's the Department of Homeland Security, whoever it might be, you know what you should do? Create this database and say, here's who we went after, and here's why we detained this person. Here's what they're being charged with, and the reason we thought they should not be roaming amongst the rest of us in society. Would that make a difference? I doubt it. But I also think that if people understood why they're here in the first place, and again, I'm not exonerating what's happening on the federal level, but because of the fact that we have nobody locally, we have no local law enforcement that's assisting with this. In fact, we spent basically the entire show today on GL with Joe explaining exactly why they can't. There's a Minnesota law that prevents them from assisting federal agents or ICE officials or whatever the terminology is. And that's the problem that I'm having is you'd solve a lot of this nonsense if you were assisting. And that's basically, let me play this clip. This clip is from, I believe it was this morning. It was this morning. Kristi Noem.
What kind of pants is she wearing? The jeans with the little sparkle things on the butt, or just standard
Well, it's
clothes?
a headshot, so I can't really tell.
See that. Okay.
I can't really tell what she's wearing, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Anyway, this is Kristi Noem. She appeared on Fox News earlier today, basically talking about how she tried to attempt to talk to Governor Tim Walz, and you'll figure out exactly what Governor Walz is up to here.
When was the last time you called the governor, Governor Walz?
Oh, I talked to him just a couple of days ago.
And what did he say when you told him to chill out?
I said, Tim and I served together in Congress. We both ran for governor at the same time. We have very different ways of governing. Our state in South Dakota was extremely successful and grew economically and safety. He drove it into the ditch. And it has been an absolute disaster. He let it burn down in 2020 and then asked surrounding governors to send our National Guard to help him because he waited too long to make any decisions to bring peace. I'm worried that he's doing the same thing.
I understand that history, but when you approached him on the phone and made your appeal, what did he say?
I said, sir, listen, Tim, you know the situation, what's going on. We are enforcing federal law. If you don't like the laws, go change them, but don't do it by giving place to these protesters and rioters that are perpetuating violence. And I said, you have my personal cell phone. You call me. If you need me, you call me. We will be there to help back you up, but protect your city, protect your state. And he paused for a few seconds, and he just said, yeah, okay. We have very different viewpoints of what's going on. I said, maybe we do, but we will be here if you need us, because that's our goal every day, is to keep people safe.
So yesterday he's encouraging people to keep a record on video with their phone. All right, here's part of that now. Listen.
They don't include that part. That's where they cut off, and it basically goes into what Walz did in front of the camera last night. But that's, again, it's the complete denial of any wrongdoing, and the more that happens, Mike, the more it leads me to believe that there's more here than meets the eye. And allow me to explain. You know, we saw it play out in 2020, and I got a really bad feeling. I hope I'm wrong. I got a really bad feeling that the way we're heading towards another George. Now, it's going to help that the weather's so lousy, and it's going to be a brutally cold weekend. But I have a really bad feeling that that's where we're heading right now with all of this. Because earlier today, you saw videos from the state capitol in which there was many students that held an ice out at the state capitol, which Governor Walz welcomed us high school students for an ice out, which, again, you have every right to do. And guess what happened at that ice out? All of the students started fighting with each other. I mean, we are such a bleeping mess right now as a state. It makes me embarrassed.
Let's go back to the genesis of this problem. Like, because we are a sanctuary town, Minneapolis and St. Paul, right? I assume we have more illegal immigrants in this town because we are a sanctuary city.
No question.
So when that happens, if we weren't a sanctuary city, would we just have a standard amount of illegal immigrants, right? And then ICE won't have to be here.
I think to answer your question, I'm going to say yes, but maybe not. And here's why. I think and again, and I've said this many times, both with you and with Joe, I think there is some theatrics involved with this, but at the same time, the main reason they're here is we have been bilked out of billions and billions of dollars, for the most part, by people who are not in this country legally. And that's not
okay.
That's not hyperbole.
I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying I agree with it. I don't disagree with that. I'm still having some major problems, Reavers. I'm having major problems with the fact that the federal government is here whipping through our city, pulling people who are not necessarily illegal immigrants over, asking people for their papers, detaining people that may or may not be illegal. Something rubs me really wrong with that. And I can't fathom, I don't know if it's libertarian, I don't know if it's conservative, I don't know if it's old school Democrats. We don't like that. I don't want, this is a slippery slope. And if you can't see it, something's really wrong.
Yeah.
If you can't see that we have ICE today and federal troops tomorrow, if you can't see that, I'm afraid. Right? That becomes a whole different scenario when somebody says, and no one's said this yet, now we need to send troops in to support the ICE agents. All of a sudden, now we have federal troops here with ICE agents. I'm just pontificating on what it could be, right? I don't want that. I don't want that, Reavers. I want my state to be singular. I want my government to be small g. I want decisions to be made localized.
Sure.
I don't want the power of the federal government to roll into our town and start asking my buddies that are Indian or Pakistani to show me their papers. I'm going to tell you, Chris, if someone pulled me over and they said, "Oh, you don't have papers, Mike," and they detained me for 10 hours, and I'm a born U.S. citizen, and I have full papers, but I didn't have them with me. I just had my driver's license, and they detained me for 10 hours. I would sue them for $100 million. So I can't express to you how livid pissed I would be off. What's the difference of a brown-skinned person getting pulled over, and they're saying, we can't tell who you are. We're going to hold you for a little bit. Bullshit, you're going to hold me for a little bit.
Is that different than when during COVID in this state, we had to drive around with a piece of paper that said, I'm an essential employee?
Same exact issue.
Okay.
Same exact issue. I don't like federal government overreach. I don't like Minnesota government overreach. I don't like any government overreach. Period. I don't like any government. Picture yourself, Reavers, driving with your kid down the road, and you get pulled over, and a cop, an ICE agent, asks you questions. I would lose my shit. I don't know. I mean, I actually wouldn't. I'd say, "Hey, my name is Mike. I live in, XYZ town. I've lived here since then. You can go look at me." I don't know. I do everything to prove it. But boy, they are detaining people, Reavers, that aren't illegals, that are Minnesotans, that have been here for many years and live here their entire life, what would you do if they stole 10 hours of your time?
I would be pretty upset.
I'd hope you'd be more than upset.
Hey, let's come back to this for a second. But I didn't mean to get you all wound up right away, but let's talk about We Are Nuts and wearenutsmn.com. It's a local, wonderful, family-owned operation making hand-batch snacks right here in the great state of Minnesota, and it's a wonderful revelation, and it's been such a fun partnership with them. It doesn't matter what snack you're in the mood for, whether it's the cinnamon toffee peanuts, which are a big hit in the Reavers household, the cashews, which is a fan favorite of myself and the Mayor Joe Souchere, the maple bourbon toffee almonds, the chocolate covered almonds. They're fantastic. And you know what? You can see every single one of their snacks online at wearenutsmn.com. Available at all of your Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores locations, Max Hardware, County Market, Coburn's, Cub Foods, Lunds and Barley's, Kowalski's Markets, and Quick Trip also is now carrying the We Are Nuts
the
brand.
183 cashews or whatever. Remember when we did that tour?
So
and they're like,
fantastic.
our cashews are 183 cashews. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And they're like, well, dope. It means we get the biggest, the best cashews. Am I doing Donald Trump there?
I think so.
I kind of like, he went right through my body to do it. But they were really hyped up on the quality of their cashews.
And
whole cashews, huge cashews, delicious cashews.
They're like baby shrimp. That's how big they are. They're fantastic.
They are.
Again, wearenutsmn.com. Please let them know that you heard about them on the weekly Scramble podcast. We will be right back. All right, I want to stick with this for another minute or so because I got an email, Mike, that kind of, I want to answer your question this way. This comes to us from our buddy Mark Hoffman, who listens to the show all the time. Thank you, Mark. Talking about the Minneapolis police force. And I want to help you understand this. In the press conference last night, Frey said that Minneapolis only has just under 500 members of its police force and therefore can't help ICE. That was Frey's excuse. I looked up the mandate, and we are still down from George Floyd weekend over 30%. It should be over 650 officers. And so, Mike, to answer your question, two things I want to point out. Number one, the numbers are down because I can't blame any police officer that said, bleep this, I don't want to deal with it. In fact, I know a couple that are literally counting down the minutes until they get the proper amount to basically retire.
Sure.
Okay, so there's
Years of
that.
service and
So you're dealing with a smaller force to begin with. Number two, we brought this up the other day. I believe it was Liz Cullen that reported that over 70 of those remaining 490, whatever it is, have already applied for the Minnesota Paid Family Leave Act.
Oh, wow. Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. So here's the other part of that. The police force in the state has been basically, whether it's the city council, whether it's the city council or any other Democratic-led office, the police force has been demonized to the point where that's what's helped make these protesters feel so emboldened that they can attack a federal agent. And that's so what I'm trying to get at here is when you feel helpless, like as a tax-paying citizen for me, I feel helpless, and I'll tell you why. Number one, the police force, they're just outnumbered. They can't get to every call right now.
Sure.
And
I literally don't think they'd have the time to help ICE.
They just wouldn't have it. But more importantly, if they're not being handled at the local or the state level, who the hell is supposed to be doing this? Because even if the bad guy is apprehended and they're brought forward to someone like Mary Moriarty, she's not going to prosecute them. The entire judicial system, from the Hennepin County attorney or the state county, the state attorney Keith Ellison, it's a joke.
So we're going back to the sanctuary city thing because you made a really good point, Reavers. If just in the natural course of business over the last 20 years, if we would have arrested somebody, right, and then we found out that they weren't a citizen, and then we found out when we arrested them, we proved that they were guilty of some crime, we could have detained them and said to ICE, hey, here's someone, you can deport them. Right?
Right.
Just so.
But I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
They can't.
No, they can't today. But if we could have just done the basics, right? We could have said, oh, this person, we don't have any background on them. They're not legal to be in the state of Minnesota. They just committed a felony. Let's deport them. If we would have just done that, we won't be going through what we're going through now.
Well, that's just it, Mike, because I remember there was a video, and I believe it was Florida, because have you seen the videos from this sheriff? He's gone viral a couple of times with some of his stuff.
I'm sure I have. On
Florida. But basically there was a small number of protesters that were trying to prevent ICE from taking, and he said what these people don't understand is why ICE agents were there. This was a 30-year-old man, and he was accused, later convicted, of raping an 11-year-old girl. He was also charged with drug trafficking and things like that. And that's my point. You as a harebrained citizen want to prevent that guy from being detained? What is wrong with you?
So, okay.
Because you don't know, and again, I don't know, and you don't know either. You don't know. I'm not saying you. I'm saying the protesters.
John Q. Public or whatever.
I'm saying John Q. Public. You also don't know why ICE is there.
Sure. I'm having a real hard time with this. I'm telling you, I really am having a hard time with it. I don't want Minneapolis police to work with the hand of the federal government. First of all, they can't do it. They're too busy. They have too much shit going on.
Yeah.
They have enough stuff to handle.
Yep.
But do I want them? I mean, I am worried about government overreach. I am really worried about government overreach. I wasn't so worried about government overreach 3 weeks ago because the federal government wasn't running roughshod through our city. I mean, why did we have to have policies of sanctuary cities? Why couldn't we have done what we did during the Obama administration? You had a criminal, you caught the criminal, you said, wow, that's unacceptable to do. And by the way, you're not legal to be here. We're going to deport you, like Barack Obama did over 3 million times.
Well, here's where I think I would lean towards your line of thinking, because this also surfaced earlier today. And if this happens, I do think that George Floyd weekend in Minneapolis will look like a birthday party. Let me get to it from KSTP.com. President Donald Trump today threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act, allowing him to deploy troops as protests against immigration and customs enforcement persist in Minneapolis. Trump made the threat after a federal officer shot a man in the leg in Minneapolis Wednesday night after being attacked with a shovel and a broom handle. The incident further heightened the sense of fear and anger radiating across the city a week after an immigration agent fatally shot a woman. Trump has repeatedly threatened to invoke the rarely used federal law to deploy the U.S. military or to federalize the National Guard for domestic law enforcement over the objections of state governors. Quote from President Trump: "If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state," he said in a social media post.
It hasn't been used since May of 1992.
Rodney King, correct?
During Rodney King, during the LA riots.
Yeah.
Right?
That was President Bush.
That was President George H.W.
Bush. Yep, thank you.
So, that's what I'm talking about, Reavers. Okay, we have ICE agents here.
Let me finish one thing about the story. I'm sorry, and then I want to hear your thoughts. I will give, and I've been a little bit critical of Police Chief Brian O'Hara, MPD, but he did say during a news conference that the gathering was an unlawful assembly and, quote, people need to leave. So at least O'Hara can kind of sense that this isn't helpful. None of this is helpful, whether it's words from the governor. And I will say, I'm almost praying that President Trump does not do this because of what will happen in the aftermath.
Yeah, and he shouldn't do it. Right? I don't know how to express this. I don't want ICE agents being hurt. I don't want John Q. Public being hurt. Please protest as safely as, and I think there's something to be said about this type of protest, Reavers, to say to ICE agents, and this might be naive Mike just being a doofus, saying, please don't do this, ICE agents. You're on the wrong side of this story. Please don't do this. You know, saying that having that message to the ICE agents instead of screaming abruptly in their face, right? Instead of just yelling at them and blocking them and then hitting them with shovels and doing that. It's not going to work that way. You're going to create more issues every day we do that. There's a different way. There's a peaceful protest that I think can work. And I think the other dynamic about this, and we saw this play out with Floyd, you and I spent a lot of time talking about the George Floyd weekend in the aftermath of what took place here, man, almost 6 years ago. Holy crap. 5.5 years ago. My point is, there's a certain of the protesting contingency, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of them, and it's growing, and that's why I'm afraid of if President Trump doesn't act that will grow even. It'll be like setting diesel fuel on a campfire is basically what will happen. Mm-hmm. Here's my point. My point is, there's the group, the protesting contingent. I would guess 25% of those people have their heart in the right place. They want to stand up for whether it's a family member, whether it's a coworker, whatever it is. There's 25% of the people who think their heart's in the right place, but they're screaming their virtue. And I'm talking about the angry liberal woman that, the Karens of the world that want to scream and shout, even though they really don't have a connection to this other than they live in Minneapolis. But then there's the other 50% of the people that are there because they just want to cause trouble. I think it's 50%.
Yeah, I don't think so. You think it's that high?
Oh, because and I'll tell you why I think it's that high. We have become a generation fueled by social media. We have to show everybody where we are 100% of the time. We have to check in all these spots and let everybody know how active our social life is. And most of the people that are doing that just want to take a video and post it to Instagram. And I do think it's 50% of the people that are protesting. I'm jumping a little bit from that. Could Donald Trump have said, there's no such thing as a sanctuary city? You can't do that. We're going to send, I'm making this up, we're going to send no federal funds to the state of Minnesota because you have sanctuary cities. Because sanctuary cities don't allow standard ICE practices. We have to come in with 4,500 or 3,500 ICE agents and rip through this town for a month or whatever it's going to be. If we would have just not allowed sanctuary cities, help me understand this. Like, why does the concept of sanctuary city, why does St. Paul get to say, we're a sanctuary city, we're going to do it, we don't care, and the federal government says, no, this is a federal thing, this isn't a state thing, you can't have illegal immigrants in your city, and as people get arrested, we're going to deport them. And, oh, by the way, you're not going to get federal funds. I don't know, but that would have been a better idea in my book than sending 3,500 armed troops. I'm going to call them troops, ICE agents. And I have nothing against ICE agents. Yeah. They're doing their job. And I'm going to tell you, I bet you anything, they don't want to be here in mass, running door to door. There's a segment of their brain that says, this does not feel right. This cannot feel right. We shouldn't be going door to door looking for people and saying, hey, do you have some papers? Were you walking by me? What do you mean, do I have papers? Like, I don't want that concept in this country, Reavers, where someone looks at me and says, where are your papers? That is talk about insurrection. That's when insurrection hits home for a ton of people, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm not accepting that. We're not doing that in America. That's what we're doing right now. I don't like this feeling. It does not feel good. Go ahead and send federal troops in, then we really got a big problem. Yeah. Then we really have a big problem. I don't know what the hell to do. I don't either. Let's switch gears after this message from North American Banking Company. Banking done differently since 1998. And back then, they made a promise to deliver a better banking experience for their customers where you know your banker and they know you. And while a lot has changed since then, this commitment to being a true community bank in the Twin Cities, that
has not. And you get that feeling anytime that you walk into any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations, whether it's Roseville, 50th in France, Woodbury, Hastings, Shoreview, and also in Maple Grove. They offer all of the same online and updated mobile banking tools as all of those other big national banks. But the key difference is you're going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. And they are also locally owned and operated. Here's why that's important. That means loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities. They are not sent out of state. So this helps all of you business owners solve problems quickly and also expand your business with confidence. You see, they deal with numbers every single day, but you, your family, and your business are never going to be one of them. So check them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more. Once again, it's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender. The Weekly Scramble. We will be right back. I desperately want to switch gears. I really do. It's one of those things, Mike, where, you know, whether it's our show, GL, you have to talk about it, but there's no good answers.
There's no good answer. And people on both sides of this are contacting me.
And right? I will say, we get so much mail when it comes to stuff like this, or email when it comes to stuff like this, that you know, no one is going to change their opinion. No one is going to see a different angle on this particular story. Everyone is kind of set in their ways. And again, that's what makes this country great, is you can have a different opinion from somebody else. So that's what kind of makes a story like this so freaking exhausting. In fact, do you know what we did for show prep today?
I had a cigarette.
No. I was explaining to Joe what WAR is in baseball.
Okay.
Wins above replacement. Because I had said, John Haidt and I we were able to get away with talking about baseball before the show started because Kenny wasn't here today.
Okay.
That's the only reason why.
He didn't shut you down.
And so we started talking about that. Joe goes, I've never understood WAR. And then I talked about the great tirade that Royce had years ago about, I don't need WAR to tell me that Willie Mays was a good baseball player. Anyway, that's what we talked about before the show.
Nice.
And I said, can we just talk about this today?
Can't we just record this for a while? I quickly looked up why can't the federal government make sure that towns are not sanctuary cities. The 10th Amendment, I don't know the Constitution well enough. The 10th Amendment reserves power not given to the federal government for the states and people, preventing the federal government from forcing states or localities to enforce federal immigration law. And then the anti-commandeering doctrine, the Supreme Court had interpreted the 10th Amendment to mean that the federal government can't issue directive or command state and local officials to administer federal programs, including immigration enforcement. So there is legislative and constitutional law that says the federal government can't demand that St. Paul's not a sanctuary city, right?
Here's the text of that.
Yes.
The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people.
Okay. I want that. I want the state to be in command. But what we did as a state might have opened up a huge can of worms is not the right term, right? This huge, horrible can of worms, because if we would have just been dealing with immigrants, illegal immigrants that were here and were breaking the laws, like you could have just every couple of days somebody leaves. You know, it wouldn't have had to be we need to go get 5,000 people in a weekend.
But what would you say then to, because I saw this pointed out a couple of days ago. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this either. But many of these people, when the Trump administration took office, many of these people who are here illegally, either law-abiding or non-law-abiding, they were offered, was it $5,000? Is that what it was?
Yep.
Here's $5,000, and you can leave the country.
Sure.
And
I was in favor of that.
And no one, you won't be arrested. Nothing will happen. Here's your check. You go back wherever.
And you can try to file to become a
and you could try to enter this country legally.
At all.
Yeah, exactly. And I think many did take up that offer. But obviously, many more did not.
Yeah, voluntary deportation.
Yeah.
You know why many more did not reverse? We looked up the stats last show. There's 100,000 illegal immigrants in Minnesota approximately, and 46% of them have been here for 20 years. They don't feel Mexican anymore. They don't feel Peruvian anymore. They feel Minnesotan. They feel like they're part of the United States. I wish I could figure this shit out.
Mm-hmm.
I wish, and the worst
You'd
part
have
is
a much bigger job if you could.
Yeah, the problem is people are going to be mad the way I'm talking about this show.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be mad saying, hey, come on, let's get everybody out of here. And then there's going to be the other side that says, are you kidding? These people are part of our community. And boy, I'm like fully not understanding what to do. That the big caveat is I don't want federal troops rolling through my town.
Well,
period.
The other problem that I have is when someone else decides to take it upon themselves to point out the opinion of some others, and that's how they're going to base a judgment on them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it happens, right?
Well, I mean, the other day, I kind of got eyeballed because I was buying gas, and I never get gas in the city, ever. I literally never do anymore.
Sure.
But I was getting eyeballed because, you've seen me when I've got my black GL hat on, my black outfit, and my aviator sunglasses.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this guy must be a cop. I mean, I know what that look is like. I'm just getting gas.
Maybe they were attracted to you.
No, trust me, it was not that at all.
Maybe they thought you were a thief, all blacked out.
Could be. Maybe.
I mean,
that was it.
do I don't see cop when I look at you.
But okay,
kind of do a little
the
bit.
The vehicle I drive. I
Yeah.
drive a black Chevy Traverse.
Sure. Oh, okay.
And it's
know.
what are you? In fact,
see that feeling you didn't like? The feeling you didn't like? There's someone standing on a street corner that ICE may be eyeballing them.
That's true. Okay.
And they're saying, hey, I don't like this feeling.
So I got to share a quick story with you. So I know a guy, and he operates a business, and he's basically a mechanic. And once or twice a month, he has to drive to an auto parts store. It's a specialized auto parts store that's here in the city. It's right off of Broadway.
Okay.
And he had to come up here a day or two ago. I can't remember. And so I was part of a text chain. And another guy in the group said, well, I think what I'm going to do is make a bunch of magnetic signs and put ICE on the side of your vehicle. And I thought, that's really not a good idea.
Yeah.
That is really not a good idea. And so thankfully that
sanity
did not happen.
Prevailed.
Yeah,
and he didn't do that.
You can think that that's a funny joke, but that's not funny.
No, and it's not going to work. It is not funny at the moment. We're going through. I think you're absolutely right. This could become a tinderbox.
If he does invoke that act, I think hide the women and children.
He
really
shouldn't do that. It's funny because there are a bunch of charity events, right? This is charity event season, right? So downtown Minneapolis, they have all these charity events at the Depot and these other hotels and all this stuff. Well, the charity event organizers are freaking out because they can't invite 700 people down to Minneapolis because they're afraid that one, the venue's not going to have any damn employees,
right? And
two, that it won't be safe for people. It's like, okay, what are we doing? Not that the charity events are that important to have happen, right? But they're good causes, right? And they've been planned for a long time. It's just we don't need to do it this way. We don't need to do it this way.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. Let's talk honest to God. I don't care if we talk about chicks or skateboarding or some other beer. Let's talk about anything.
When have we ever talked about skateboarding?
I don't know, but I did.
Were you a skateboarder?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
Can I tell you a little story?
Yeah.
So I was driving past one of my stores yesterday, right? Down in St. Paul. We have a store down on Plato and South Robert, a service center, and we had went to get tacos at a place called Taco House.
Okay.
Boca Chica's Taco House, right? If you've never been to Boca Chica Taco House, they make fantastic tacos. I didn't even think about this ICE thing. I just went there and I thought, oh, well, I didn't. I was with my daughter. She actually said, do you think it'll be open? And I said, well, it's early. It's 7:00. Yeah, why wouldn't they? She goes, oh, no, but because of ICE. I thought, oh, crap. Are all the people working there? I have no idea. And it was totally open. Everything was fine. The food's fantastic. On the way out of there, Reavers, we're driving by and down Robert Street. And my daughter says, hey, there's a rock climbing gym. And I said, and I'm on that road almost every day. I said, no, there's not a rock climbing gym. And she goes, it was right there off the road. And I said, honey, I'm on this road almost every day. There's not a rock climbing gym. I was a real avid rock climber at one point in time. Okay. So she said, yes, it is. I said, let me prove to you. So I turn around, flip around, and drive around. Sure enough, there's a 200,000 square foot rock climbing gym, brand new, on a road that I drive down every day.
Wow.
So I drop her off at home and I go back to this rock climbing gym because I just turned 55. And I'm just becoming this lazy turd. And I said, I got to do something. So I go into this rock climbing gym, and there was this kid named Brad. Brad could sell Ferraris. This kid was unbelievable.
Sure.
Let me show you. Here's the community that we have. Foghorn community.
Nope.
Here's the group of friends you're going to make. Here's the plunge. There's a plunge pool and a sauna and private showers and a big workout area. And the whole thing. He did the whole thing, right? I get done. What I don't need is another membership to a club I'm not going to use. What did I do?
Bought a membership to a club you're not going to use.
Bought a membership.
Yep.
And I don't even think I can rock climb anymore. I used to be real avid 15 years ago.
Okay.
Well, my body's changed a little bit in the last 15 years. So I was so damn proud of this kid. I'm like, you need a name tag on. I'm like, are you management? What's going on? He's like, no, I just work here. And I'm like, I need to steal him and go sell jets or whatever, because this kid was just a gentleman. So new rock climbing gym in St. Paul. It's called Bouldering Project.
Okay.
I guess there's 15
Wait a
of them.
minute.
There's one in Minneapolis.
Is their logo the state of Minnesota with a guy hanging from like the...
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's Vertical Endeavors.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's Vertical
I saw
Endeavors.
that logo. I forget where I was driving. I saw that logo. I went, oh my God.
Oh, that's right off of 280, and we're right next to one of Vertical Endeavors. It's 280 and 94.
Okay.
Like, you know where those storage units are on 280 and 94? It's right behind there is Vertical Endeavors.
Because I saw that logo. I'm like, it's a cool logo because I know exactly what they're doing with that,
So let me tell you a little story. So on one of my very first dates, my second date with my pick, right, with Nicole, I said, hey, do you want to see something cool? And so we went.
She said no.
Yes. I didn't say big. I said cool.
Gotcha.
And I said, let me show you this. So we drove down on the south side of the Mississippi River Road, down by the St. Paul Yacht Club, under the High Bridge.
Yep.
And I said, let's go up. Let me show you something behind this High Bridge embankment. So you have to kind of walk up through the dirt, and there's mattresses laying there and drug needles, and it's sketchy.
Yeah.
And she's thinking to herself, is he going to kill me at the second date? Right?
Sure.
She doesn't really know me.
Yep.
She knew I was a gentleman on the first date, but she had no idea what kind of maniac I was going to be. So we get around on the backside of this big bridge. So it's 200 feet tall approximately. It's really, really tall. And someone at some point, I know who did it, but I can't say, put a rock climbing route on the inside of the bridge. So if you're rock climbing, you can't see anybody on the bridge because it's from the bridge embankment to the dirt, right?
Yep.
And it's the largest climb in the state of Minnesota. So you have to climb for like 15 feet without a rope, and then your rope would hook in because he put clips to hook in, and you can climb all the way up on the bridge.
Oh my God, I'm getting the elevator stomach.
So cool. And she thought, I don't know why you really needed to show me that, right? But those rock climbing things, that there's a company in Minnesota called Nycros. They make those handholds, right? They're worldwide. They make these things, and they're great people. But if you love rock climbing and haven't done it for 15 years like me, I'm going to be there tonight at Bouldering Project.
Is this a frat pack gathering?
If you're there, I just got a new watch too. And do you hear it making a beep noise?
Yeah.
I don't know how to shut that off.
Oh. It's a big day.
My life is crashing. This was a birthday gift for my wife.
Oh, happy birthday.
It tracks me. FYI.
Oh boy.
She knows exactly where I am.
And all hours
it's
of the
always
day.
on my wrist. And if my wrist is doing something fast, she could track that.
Oh, we got to use the other hand.
Yeah. Reavers, you know what?
What's that?
What do you call an alligator that wants to be a detective?
I have no idea.
An investigator.
Oh my God.
Reavers, you are the best.
Do us a favor and rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. It helps others find the show, and it helps us out as well, and we appreciate each and every single one of you. His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. Thank you so very much for listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. We'll talk to you again next time. Until then, cheers.